Hello and welcome to the Municipal Measurement Program training video for 2023. The Municipal Measurement Program is delivered by the Recycling Partnership and Re-TRAC Connect. My name is Carla Bergstrom, and today we're going to be showing you how to complete the Yard and Food Waste Collection Program survey within the MMP. So, three new surveys were launched in March: the Recycling Collection Program Survey, the MSW Collection Program Survey, and the Yard and Food Waste Collection Program Survey. The one we're going to be focusing on today is the Yard and Food Waste Program Collection Program. The types of data that we're going to be entering today are related to single-family curbside, as well as single-family curbside yard waste, as well as food waste programs in your jurisdiction. So if you offer any of these services curbside, then we're going to ask what household numbers, so how many households are served by those programs. The collection frequency, which might be different for each of the two collection programs. So we'll look at different collection frequencies. Tonnage, of course, so yard waste tonnage, separate from food waste tonnage. Container data also could be slightly different, as well as the types of material that are accepted. If you have a residential drop-off for your yard and food waste, then you'll also be able to enter tonnage for those different programs as well. So you might have a combination of services, like you might offer just one of these, like just the yard waste drop off. Maybe you don't do any curbside yard or food waste, and that's fine. When we get to that section, you'll be able to identify that those services are not provided in your jurisdiction. Or maybe they're provided by another agency, maybe an open market systems available for residents for food waste collection, or maybe the county provides some curbside yard waste services or something like that. So you don't have to offer all of these services in order to fill out this form. There'll be options for you if services are not available or if services are provided by another agency. So once your data gets entered into the Yard and Food Waste Collection Survey, it will be verified. So BioCycle is our organics verifying partner. So BioCycle, the team there, will review the surveys. And if they have any questions about, or sorry, they're only going to review the yard waste. If they have any questions about any of the data that's been entered into your program, then they might reach out to get clarification. And then once they've reviewed your survey, they will mark it as verified. So you'll notice here the status of this survey is verified. The Recycling Partnership does the verification of the recycling and the MSW collection data. Once the surveys are entered and you have especially tonnage information, which is really important, tonnage is then used to generate numerous reports like diversion rates, pounds per household report, annual trends if you've reported to the MMP for multiple years, different program tonnage analysis, so the breakdown of tonnage by each program, as well as the economic benefits of recycling reports. So now that we know the type of data that we're going to be entering and the reports we'll be able to generate, let's go ahead and get started. I'm just going to first start by showing you the resources available to you on the municipalmeasurement.com website. So you can always navigate to the municipalmeasurement.com website here. If you are not currently a member of the MMP, you can click on the application to join. It's free for municipal, county, and regional agencies that offer programs for residents, so residential collection programs. So you can get access to the forms as well as the analytical reports that way. Um, you'll find a little bit of information here about the design of the MMP as well as how it works. So basically, municipalities, counties, and regional agencies who deliver services apply to join. They complete the survey and they get access to reports. At a state or regional level, if states want to, they can purchase access to the data through a subscription. So this will allow the state or the county or the regional government to print aggregate reports. So basically, they purchase access to the data, they encourage participation, They review survey responses as they come in and help with making sure the data is as top quality as possible. And then they can generate numerous reports on individual responses or aggregated performance across their entire region. So if you want to learn more, you can click on the Learn More links here to find out about how to participate as a reporting member, or if you want to learn more about being able to access data from different communities within your jurisdiction. There's lots of information available here. Off the resources page is where you'll find some getting started guides as well as user guides. So the MMP user guides are for the individuals that are filling out the forms. There's a promo kit available as well as some information on the data verification process. So all the data that gets entered into the MMP does get verified either by BioCycle or by the Recycling Partnership. So if you want to find out a bit more about what they're looking at in your data, you can review the data verification protocol. So let's go ahead and log in. So if I click the login button here, it's an option for you to log into Re-TRAC Connect. I've got it open already. So the website to log in to get access to the MMP is app.re-trac.com. That'll take you to this login page where you're going to enter in the email address that you use to set up your account. When you click next, you'll be able to enter a password. And if you forgot your password, there is a forgot password link at that point. I'm not going to log into the live account because I want to just do a little bit of playing around here and enter some data. So I'm going to go to just a test account, which I have open just here. So this is my test account. I've got a test user, just mmp at emergetest.ca is my email address. Well, not my email address, but the test one that I'm using. Clicking next, here you can see where you'll enter a password. And here's the forgot password link if you ever need it. I'm just going to go ahead and log in. When you log into Re-TRAC Connect, you'll be taken to your home page. The home page is where you're going to see all the programs that you're reporting to. So the MMP is one program within Re-TRAC Connect. If you want, you can join other programs. So you might see other programs in here. But the one we're focusing on today is the Municipal Measurement Program. So when you click on this bar, it'll open up your members page. Now, typically within the MMP, one reporter has one member. So I'm reporting for the city, which is a municipality, and so my sample city. So it would be uncommon if you did report for multiple municipalities, but I guess it is possible. So here you're going to see the municipalities that you're reporting for. When you click on the bar, then from here, it takes you to your workspace. So this is the workspace for your city or your county or regional agency that you're reporting on behalf of. Your workspace is always going to take you to your active workspace, which is showing you the surveys for the 2022 program year. So the MMP is always collecting data from the previous year. So we're in 2023 right now, so we won't be collecting all of the 2023 data until later in 2024. If you have reported to the MMP for multiple years, you'll see there are some year options here that you can click on, and it will show you all the forms that you filled out in previous years. You'll notice here that we can see all the forms. So there's the MSW, which is in draft, the Recycling Collection Program Survey, which is completed, and the Yard and Food Waste, which is new. New means it hasn't been started yet. No one's looked at it. No one's entered anything in. It's brand new, ready to go. Draft means it's been completed and it's locked. You can't change it, so it's done. Draft means it's partially complete or complete, but you haven't marked it as complete yet, which means you can still go in and edit it. So you can always save your surveys as draft and come back in and edit them at a later date. So if you get started, just go ahead and save it. You can come back to it later. I'm going to go ahead and click New to open up the Yard and Food Waste Collection Program Survey. So, you'll see here, there's a little bit of an introduction. It talks about the types of data that we're collecting in this form. There's some survey instructions located on the top right corner. So over here on the top right, you can click there. Gives you the little bit of more detail about the survey as well as a link to the user guides. So that's a step-by-step guide on completing this form and our email if you need to reach out to us for any reason for help or assistance. So as I'm scrolling down, I'm seeing yard waste collection. I'm seeing the single family curbside yard waste collection section. So there's three sections in this survey. Single family, or no, sorry, there's four. Single family yard waste, drop off yard waste, single family curbside food waste, and drop off food waste. So for the single family curbside food waste, it's asking me to select the agencies responsible for providing this service. You'll notice that multiple items were checked. And in fact, I didn't even check any of these. It just automatically was checked. And that's because for this example, for my sample city, I had reported for last year for 2021. So the surveys are going to look at your previously entered data and they're going to pre-populate with the same responses. Now, it might still be the same or it might be different. Like maybe we no longer have an open market system for our yard waste. It's all done either by my agency or by another agency. Um, so I can change the answers just because it pre-populated it that way doesn't mean I can't edit it. So I'm going to change that. If you select services provided by another agency, like this check is here, then you'll be asked what's the name of the other agency. So if I uncheck that, you'll notice that question goes away. So I'm just going to say it's a county. I'll just go, XYZ county provides the service. So my my city, my agency, my municipality provides some curbside services, but the city also, or sorry, the county also provides some. So combination. Um, if you or when you say that services are provided by your agency, you're going to get a whole bunch of questions about the services you provide. So just if I didn't have that first box checked, it's not even going to ask me anything. It's like services are provided by someone else. Who? Okay, and then we move on. But if they're provided by you, your city or your county, then you select the top option. Then we'll get all the follow-up questions. So we want to know how many households you serve with your program. So um, perhaps maybe your whole municipality is served, but your program only services a portion of that. So this is like the number of households that you provide curbside services to. Collection might be all year or provided during specific months. Again, depending on your answer here, if you say all year, then that's great. You can just move on. If you say it's only provided during specific months, then this is where you can check off the months. So maybe you stop doing December pickup, so you can change that. And who's responsible for for collecting these, or sorry, who's responsible for providing the services? So in for your municipality, if you have public crews that you hire, so they're city employees basically that go around and pick up yard waste, then select that. You might have a franchised hauler or a publicly selected contractor. If there's multiple values, like say, for example, you have multiple ways of providing the service, then use other and enter in, please specify the details. So services are provided by a combination of the above service providers. This example, I'm just going to change it to public crews just to make it a little easier. So we want to know who provides, who's the service provider for your city services. So um, we're not worried about the county services that are provided. And then how do single family households receive the service? So they have to subscribe to it and there's a fee. Maybe it's automatically and there's no fee, or they have to opt in and there's no fee. So you just choose the option. Again, if none of these options um, suit your your program, then use the other and please specify. If you say that a fee is required, so if I were to have said no fee, I don't get an answer, or I don't get the question about the fee. But if I say that the fee is required, then we're going to ask you if you know the fee. So if you can provide the annual fee for yard waste, or maybe residents are not charged a separate fee for yard waste. So you know there's a fee, but it's not separated, so you can't provide it. Or maybe you don't know the fee. You can use the last option. So this is collection frequencies, the next question related to curbside yard waste. So it's collected weekly, obviously only during the months identified. Um, and then what kind of containers are used. So you can check all of those as needed. Maybe they can use cans now. Um, again, there's an other option where you can enter in additional container options. And then who provides the containers? So you provide the containers, the residents provide the containers. Um, so you can identify that. And then the size of the roll carts or the containers that are, I guess these are not just containers, this is specific to roll carts. So because roll carts was selected, if you don't select roll carts, it's not going to ask you who provides the roll carts. So it's a little more specific to the roll carts. And then the size of the carts, you can enter in multiple sizes if you have multiple sizes available. If you had selected bags up here, so I selected bags, it's going to ask me what kind of bags. So paper bags are used in my program. And then what kind of materials are collected. So grass clippings, garden debris, branches, and that's about it. We don't collect leaves. That would be, or we didn't last year collect leaves. So we could maybe say we're collecting leaves this year. And then if you can provide the tonnage. Now, last year when I completed this form for 2021, I couldn't not provide the tonnage. So that's why it populated with no. Maybe this year I can. So then you would go ahead and put in the number of tons available or the number of tons that was collected in 2022. And you can add additional comments here if you want, explaining more about the services you provide. If I was able to provide tonnage, there is a link here that will show me my historical tonnage. So then I can see the tonnage I reported last year. But since I didn't report any tonnage last year, I'm not going to get anything from that report. It's just going to be zero. It couldn't be generated because there's no data. Looking down at the next question, we have the residential drop-off yard waste collection section. So who provides the drop-off for yard waste? So maybe that you have a county that does the drop-off. So maybe that's the same county as above that runs the county drop-off for yard waste. If you provided yard waste drop-off services, so you'd select provided by my agency, then you'd get some follow-up questions here regarding tonnage. The last thing we ask on yard waste is final destination, where you can put in the facility name, address, county, and state. If you have more than one final destination, use the add button here and add additional facilities, or you can use the remove button as well. You'll notice these fields are not marked with a red asterisk, so most of the fields above you'll see all have these little red asterisks. Red asterisk means that it's a required field, which means you won't be able to save your form unless you have some data in there. So this is an optional section. You don't have to fill it out. It's not required, but if you have that information, you can put it in. The next section is the food waste. So now we're doing curbside food waste. So if curbside food waste is provided by your agency, select that. Maybe it's an open market system. You can select that. Maybe residents contract directly with a company. There's no oversight at all from your municipality. So that's an option. Or like I said, if you select the first one, then you'll get the follow-up questions. So how many households are served? So maybe you're starting a small program, a pilot program, starting with 1,200 households. So it's a pilot. You can say how many households are included in the service and that it's on a pilot scale. You can even put in your status of your food waste program. Um, do you accept food waste and yard waste in the same container? So if you say that you do, that's great. Same container can be used for both. But if you say no, then that means that it's a separate container, which means it could be collected. The collection frequency could be different. The size of the containers could be different. The service providers could be different, all of that. So it's only if they're collected in a separate container that you'll get a bunch of additional questions here. So is curbside food waste collection provided throughout the year? So maybe it's yes, it's all year, or again, if it's only during certain months, you can select that and enter the months. Is the food waste collection provided by the same service providers? So maybe you have a totally different provider for the food waste, so we'll say no. So maybe you have a contracted hauler, you don't have public crews. Maybe public crews are used for your yard waste, but for food waste, you have a contractor. So very different style of service for food waste in this example. Do single family households subscribe? So how do they subscribe? So maybe they have to pay a fee and then you can enter the fee. So it'd be an annual fee. Maybe they have to pay whatever, $100 a year. And the collection frequency, so food waste, maybe you pick up weekly. And the containers, so you'll notice because they're not in the same container, right? My yard waste containers are different sizes than the food waste containers, so maybe I'm doing a 10-gallon container, maybe you have to do some smaller ones, some 5-gallon containers. And who provides the containers? So maybe they're provided by the service provider, or you rent them, or they're provided by the service provider. And then all the materials that you can collect in your program. There is a select all button. You'll see the little green checks here where it would check all the boxes or uncheck, or you can just go down and check them. I'll just check them all. So food waste is even separated, right? Meat, fish, and dairy. Not all programs will accept meat, fish, and dairy. Some just accept vegetative items. So, it's very specific here. And, you want to go through and make sure that it's the right materials. And then if you have tonnage for the food waste. And then there's no historical data here. That question wasn't answered here for me. Yes, so there's no historical tonnage. Any information I want to share, I can just type it in. You've got quite a bit of room here to explain more about your food waste collection program. Then the drop-off food waste. So maybe you don't have a drop-off food waste. So as I mentioned, just because we're asking questions about a specific program, if you don't have that program in your jurisdiction, just select the last option and you won't get any of the follow-up questions. But again, if I had selected that the services were provided by my agency, then I get the additional questions. I'm just going to say no. And I don't need final destination for food waste. The last section is top challenges related to delivering these types of programs. So we want you to have a look through this and identify your top 3 challenges. So this is really important to understand at a state level or regional level, what individual municipalities are struggling with. It'll help decision makers with education and outreach materials or grant opportunities or anything like that that could be in demand for your region. So please take a moment to enter your top challenges. You don't have to enter 3, but you can enter up to 3. If you tried to enter 4, you're going to see only 3 are allowed. And then we're going to save this form. I'm actually just going to uncheck these just for a moment. I want to show you what happens if I save a form, but I haven't entered information in the required field. So you notice this top challenges is marked with a red asterisk. When I try to save this, it's saying, hey, I've got an error. I've got an issue. I have one thing I can do is find and fix the error, or maybe I can just save it as a draft and come back later. So I'm going to find and fix it. When I confirm, it just highlights here the question that I need to enter. So now I can go ahead and enter, and now I can save. I still might want to save it as a draft. Maybe I needed to confirm a tonnage number. Just because I entered all the required fields doesn't necessarily mean that I want to mark it as complete. So even though I've addressed all the required fields, I could still save it as a draft. When you save it as a draft, you can come back later and edit it. So that's a great option. I'm going to go ahead and mark it as complete though, because I'm going to say I'm done with this form. When you mark it as complete and click confirm, then BioCycle gets notified that this survey is complete and they will verify it. So they verify kind of on a monthly schedule. So they'll be notified that your survey is ready for them to verify. When I go back to the uh, or when I clicked save to save my yard waste form as complete, it takes me back to my workspace where I can see, okay, now I got yard waste is complete, recycling complete, but I still need to do something to that MSW survey. You can always go back in and have a look at your completed surveys. Just clicking on the completed box will take you there. Here it says the status is complete and all fields are locked. Now, if you accidentally marked it as complete and you need to make some changes, that's okay. Please just reach out to us. So reach out to contact the MMP managers. So here, MMP at re-trac.com is where you're going to get a hold of us, and we can unlock it. We can basically turn it back to a draft for you so that you can continue your edits. There's also, if you want, an export option at the top where you can export your full response now that it's marked complete. So that's the end of the yard and food waste collection program training. Don't forget, once you've entered all of your surveys, and especially if you have those tonnage numbers in there, there's numerous analytical reports off the Analytics tab available for you to generate. Thank you so much for joining today. Have a great day.